Welcome to Sports Center. Alongside Rich Eisen, I'm
representing the sport I love so much. Thank you all.
Terry, has this whole week and this whole year exceeded every expectation of what a championship season should be like?
Well, it was a big year for us, no question about that. You know, it started out the year and got a great team and running well, and went through the deal where we broke Richard Petty's record, and that was kind of a pretty exciting couple of weeks of the season for us. And then to come back and win the championship in the same year was just really incredible.
You looked out here tonight and saw your peers and this whole night. What has this night been like for you?
Well, it's very exciting for us, and it means a lot to me personally, just because of the fact that it's been so long since I won a championship before in the past, and just very satisfying.
You know, it's a lot you can say about Terry Labonte, and I think it's been said tonight. It's the Iceman, you know, it's the Iron Man, but he's a real man, and he's a champion. Terry, thank you for bringing us our second championship.
You know, you can't say enough about your team, your car owner, and all the fans, all the people that are here tonight. And it means a lot to be here. I know why. Now, I guess I know why Dale Earnhardt and Childress and them won so many championships. They liked it when they did it. So we're going to do it some more. How's that?
I mean, I think it just adds competition. I think Terry's going to be a guy that we're all going to have to race again next year for the championship. But I know one thing, we're really pumped up. I haven't seen my team with the fire in their eyes like they've got right now. And I think that's because we lost it this year. And that lights up a fire, especially during this off season.
I don't know that we could have a more fitting champion for our sport. He's a great spokesperson, a tremendous competitor, obviously, and I mean, he has every facet that it takes to win, and I think that we would be hard-pressed to find someone that's not happy that Terry Labonte won the championship if they couldn't win it. So he's going to be a true champion, somebody that represents our sport very well.
He's going to be a great champion. I'm proud for him to be at the head table this year since we couldn't, and congratulate him and Rick Hendricks and the team. And you know, next year's another year, though.
You know, I'm a pretty big fan of sort of underdogs, and in a way, Terry to me was an underdog after having several seasons that were subpar. You know, it looked like Terry was, you know, kind of doomed to the mediocre race team situation, and when he got a chance to come and drive for Rick Hendrick, I think that was a big shot for him, and people had forgot how good Terry Labonte really was, and that just goes to show you that it's very easy for people to overlook, because he was out there all the time and he wasn't getting in the good cars, and when he got with the right race team, you know, he came back as a champion. So you know, that's a character builder, and I think it's really neat.
This has been a bittersweet trip to New York for Labonte's car owner, Rick Hendrick. On Wednesday, Hendrick was indicted by a federal grand jury on charges of conspiring to bribe Honda executives. He is accused of bribing officials to receive preferential treatment for cars at his dealerships. Hendrick will plead innocent to the 13 counts of money laundering, 1 count of conspiracy, and 1 count of mail fraud.
I want to say so much, but I can't right now, but it'll all come out how unjust and selective and untrue it all is, and then to do it now with just a shot at getting publicity. And so I'm not going to let it ruin it for my team that's worked hard and earned a championship, and we're going to have a good time today and tonight, and we're going to celebrate. And I just, you know, there's an old saying, you know, when you're under attack for something, you want to go home, and I feel like I am home with the NASCAR family.
Friday morning at a breakfast, Hendrick was shown overwhelming support by the NASCAR community when he won the Unocal 76 NMPA Myers Brothers Award for making the greatest contribution during the year to the sport of stock car racing. Some other awards given out: for the 11th time in the last 13 years, Bill Elliott is the most popular driver, beating out Dale Earnhardt by less than 5,000 votes. Rusty Wallace was the lucky driver who earned the wild card spot in the '97 Busch Clash. Wallace poked fun at himself about his woes when it comes to winning poles.
It's hard to believe I made the Clash because I haven't done, my qualifying effort's not been good at all this year and the past year. You know, if you're not in it, there's something weird about it, you know. So I'm excited about it being a thing. We got great Daytona and Talladega cars this year. The restrictor plate engines are looking really good. We start off testing January the 2nd, Daytona, so we'll see what we got.
And people were still talking here in New York about Larry McReynolds. He, of course, has already left Robert Yates Racing for Dale Earnhardt's crew chief position next season.
He's back at the shop working today and planning and getting his people together and seeing who's going to be there, and it's going to be good for us.
Earnhardt is signed with Richard Childress Racing through the year 2000, and McReynolds has also signed a multi-year deal with the team. It's all an effort to win the Intimidator his 8th championship. Ned, back to you.
Lots of money passed out in New York, and our congratulations to all of those who shared in it. And I'm sure there's more to come as they head to the 1997 season. Still to come on this show, we'll talk with Andy Petree and his new driver, Ken Schrader. So don't go away. One of the big driver changes for 1997 was Ken Schrader leaving the Hendrick Motorsports team that he'd been with for a number of years and going with Andy Petree, who just bought the Leo Jackson team at the end of the 1996 season. Of course, Skoll is the sponsor on that Chevrolet number 33, and we talked to both of them about their moves.
It's been 5 years since Ken Schrader has won a race. During his 9 seasons with Rick Hendrick, he visited victory lane 4 times and finished in the top 10 in points 6 times. That success over the years did not translate into comfort for Schrader this past season. That's why he's joining forces with another racing veteran in '97, Andy Petree. Petree, of course, as a crew chief, has 2 championships under his belt with Dale Earnhardt and 25 victories with Earnhardt, Harry Gant, and Phil Parsons. This will be an adventure for this duo. Both have high expectations for Petree's first full season as owner of the 33.
We're sitting here next December. What are you guys going to say you accomplished?
Well, it's hard to look into a crystal ball.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, we can tell you what our expectations are, and our expectation is to sit here and talk about the races that we won. And that's the primary concern, and obviously to be in the top 10 in points and working on knocking on that top 5, top 3 door, you know, to get ready for the next year, and then we'll be looking to knock it down the next year.
We want to be sitting here knowing that what we thought we could build, even though it's not that big starting from scratch building process, but what we thought we could do together, that we are for sure headed in that direction.
You're coming from a place where it seemed like the resources were unlimited. You're going to a place where the owner is the crew chief. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, the resources appear to be very unlimited at the Hendrick deal, and they are. But what makes it look that big is they just got, it's a bigger budget. It's a lot bigger budget, but it has to be. They got to run 3 Winston Cup teams and a truck out of that budget. First time I went to Andy's, you got all the same stuff. You got the race cars and the team. You just don't have 160 people walking around the compound. You got the engine room that's doing all the research and development. They're just not doing it for 3 teams. You got the R&D room, the chassis shop, just like we've got, except they're worried just about 1 team. It's all the same thing, just smaller scale. But it doesn't put it behind. It can be a smaller scale because 1 team.
I think we can focus on things maybe a little bit closer and maybe react to certain situations quicker. You got a big organization, big machine. It's hard to change the direction of a big organization. It's hard to steer. Ours is a little bit more maneuverable, let's say, and I think that maybe gives us a little bit of advantage.
You wanted the opportunity to win a championship, Kenny. Why do you think that you can win one with Andy?
Because of Andy. You know, I've had a number of different crew chiefs since I've been with the 25 car, and I've been with some real good people. Some of them, if we would have stayed together maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years or whatever, and they'd have been in the sport that long and maybe worked with some other people, we could be in that same situation. But I need someone that's got that experience now, you know. Like I say, next year's a building year, but it's not a building year. We don't have a lot of stuff to build. We just got to get used to working together, and that shouldn't take that long. I think Andy he's won 2 championships. He's won races with different drivers. He knows what it takes. We talk some. We think a lot alike. I love to win races, but I'd be a happy man being Terry Labonte style. Just, sorry guys, only won 2 races, but here's that championship trophy. It looks pretty good, doesn't it? I can survive without an 8-race win season, you know? Just give me that championship.
And we're talking about a building year. If you look back, you know, that sounds like, well, they're building, they're not expecting success. Well, the 88 team was really in their building year this year, too. So that's the kind of success we're looking for. We're looking to build on a championship team and also to win races and be successful along the way.
Have you guys been around this business way too long that you have to do a bonding trip or anything like that? I mean, have you sat down? Have you gone away? Have you talked about anything? I mean, does bonding mean that much to you guys when you guys have been, you know, veterans of this sport for as long as you've been around?
Now, I think bonding is important. That's something that took Earnhardt and myself a little time to actually bond. He used to make a joke about it a lot. So until we really bonded, I didn't feel like we clicked as well. And once we did, I thought we were a real good team. And I think that we've started out, Kenny and I have already bonded to a certain extent. So, and today is another bonding session, and we're going to go out to dinner tonight and bond a little more. So it is important.
Did you ask for Dale for any advice about him?
It was a tough decision for my part. And I went to basically 3 people. I went to Rusty Walsh, Dale Earnhardt, and Richard Childress. And I'm here.
What'd they say?
They said, go. Jump on it. You guys could be real good for one another.
Now, personally, I believe that Andy Petree and Ken Schrader will make a dynamic duo. Wouldn't surprise me at all to see them win in 1997. A lot of people have wondered, why did NASCAR go to Japan last month when they have so much going on in the United States? Maybe this story by Stephanie Boyd will show you why.
When NASCAR first announced it was coming to Japan, it's no secret the news was met with mixed reactions, but you didn't have to be here long to see the positive influence of American stock car racing on a new land. Whether it was T-shirt sales outside the front gate or signage on the cars inside the track, the marketing value of America's fastest growing sport was not lost in the Japanese translation. International companies like Snap-on saw the NASCAR visit as a gold mine. And that's why they jumped at the chance to sponsor Mike Skinner's car, since his '97 sponsor Lowe's is only in the U.S. As part of their package, Snap-on followed the American custom of pre-race hospitality, bringing in their customers and dealers for a chance to meet Skinner firsthand.
For Snap-on, Japan represents a very important international market, and what we did by bringing the car over here like this and making it look like a dealer van and also representing some of our product on it, it made a natural association, and we hope to help it penetrate this market and help it grow.
I think we all would like to be involved more and more with motor racing. It's important, it's fun, it does have a payback, and yeah, I hope we'll do more.
Since there were drivers there from several of NASCAR's top divisions, Winston Cup Series sponsor R.J. Reynolds kept a pretty low profile, at least for now.
Now we're looking at this to see what happens. There's going to be 3 events over here that are exhibition events, and this is NASCAR's venture. It's not a NASCAR Winston Cup Series event. So, you know, we're over here with the Camel brand with our car, and NASCAR's over here with the event. It's really not a Winston Cup event. All the Winston Cup competitors and the Craftsman, Sears Craftsman people and Busch Grand National drivers are here as well. So it's more a look-see to see what happens, and so far it's looking very good.
While taking NASCAR to Japan does provide some new marketing venues and exposes stock car racing to thousands of new fans, the sanctioning body's president maintains there's no push to extend the sport internationally.
Well, no, we're not talking about doing that. This is an isolated case. We've got a 3-year commitment to do this being the first year. Then after that, you know, we may go somewhere else with an exhibition race from time to time. What really makes sense long-term would be to set up a more of a domestic series here in Japan with Japanese cars and Japanese drivers, and then from time to time bring a driver back and forth and so forth. I think, you know, this is a pretty logistical assignment to bring everything over, unless you're set up to do it like Formula One does. Plus, our cars are twice the size of Formula One cars, so and they fly theirs. Ours came over on a boat. So, you know, other than an isolated event, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do this on a regular basis.
Since the Suzuka track is a road course, Grant says NASCAR may take a look at the new oval being built near Tokyo for future dates, and there have also been rumors of stops in Europe. But for the American fans still waiting for a NASCAR date in their backyard, Grant says, don't worry.
The people in the United States can relax. We're not talking about taking this series, making an international series out of it, running a half a dozen races in the U.S. and the rest of them around the world. We're not talking about that at all, and have no plans to do that. What works in the United States is working good, and this is kind of an experiment. So far, we think it's going to work. We've got to expose the product to a lot of people over in Japan who aren't familiar with looking at it. So I don't think we're going to have you know, people backed up to Tokyo to buy a ticket, because they're not for that, you know, familiar with the drivers or the type of racing.
Maybe not yet, but each day the drivers and teams spent at Suzuka, the more and more recognized they became. Some saw that as the start of a whole new audience, while others weren't quite so sure.
I know that the stock car racing is growing in leaps and bounds in the United States. I don't know if we're quite ready to be going overseas. Maybe this is just another step that Bill France has figured out that we need to do to make our sport grow. And you know, obviously he's done a lot of right things, and you know, I'm not going to second guess him.
You may come over here once a year, but you may also pick up 1 million, 2 million fan following. So if that's the case, it's well worth NASCAR being here.
They have absolutely bent over backwards to make us feel at home here. Very, very friendly. The language barrier is a little bit tricky sometimes, but I just haven't met anybody that's been rude in any way. They've always been, you know, happy that we're here, and I'm happy to be here. I think it's a neat deal for NASCAR. It's a great opportunity for me. It's an honor to me to get invited to this thing, and an honor to have a company like Snap-on Tools on our Chevrolet. It's a neat deal. I'm glad we came.
And so were the sponsors and the newfound Japanese fans, who no doubt will be even more eager for the second Suzuka Thunder 100 next year.
Backtrack is brought to you by Prestone Antifreeze. Protect your car in the Prestone Zone.
It was 1990 and Hollywood had come to Daytona. A lot of eyes were on Tom Cruise, the star of Days of Thunder, but most were on the stellar field for the 32nd annual Daytona 500. Jeff Bodine started on the front row after pole-sitter Ken Schrader crashed and had to go to a backup car. Dale Earnhardt shared the front row with Bodine. As usual, a handful of drivers had trouble. Even the King Richard Petty was having a bad day when he went for a long slide in turn 2. Then Rick Wilson blew an engine, and Bodine slapped the wall, causing the day's final yellow with 8 laps remaining. Just after the restart, Earnhardt made quick work of Derek Cope. It seemed the Dominator would finally win the Daytona 500. But in turn 3 on the very last lap, Earnhardt lost his right rear tire. This allowed Cope, Terry Labonte, Bill Elliott, and Ricky Rudd to get by. Cope was able to hold him off the final half mile for his first win in stock car racing's biggest event. Earnhardt finished 5th and would have to wait an entire year for another shot at winning the only big race he hadn't won. Derek Cope, the 1990 Daytona 500 winner.
Coming up after this short break, we'll talk with Larry McReynolds about his change from Robert Yates Racing to Richard Childress Racing, so don't go away.
I felt like I met all of my obligations there. I left it with a clean bill of health and wanted to be able to walk out of there, and felt like I did walk out of there with my head held up and held high.
It's been a little bit different. It's been fun. We really didn't get to see as much of the country as we'd have liked to, because we didn't have time. But the people over here are very nice and very polite. And I don't think I've ever signed an autograph here that the person didn't say thank you. So it's pretty neat to come over here and be in their country and kind of see how they live a little bit. It's been quite an experience, really.
I mean, it's really exciting being here in Japan and be racing the cars that we love to race. But the only bad part is you kind of feel helpless, because there's not a lot of communication amongst the people that live here and us. So we're kind of at amusement park. This racetrack's all around amusement park, which is really a lot of fun, but you can't communicate with all the people that work there. So it's been different. It's been exciting, and it's something that everybody has to do, before they're not here. So it's been good.
It's pretty neat. It's been a good experience for us, and the people are really nice, and we had a good time. So even got one here wax the car, but I think they're really anxious to see us over here, see us race, and hopefully we put a good show on for them tomorrow.
One of the biggest stories in NASCAR Winston Cup racing recently was when Larry McReynolds announced that he would be leaving Robert Yates Racing. Everyone figured that he'd be there forever. But last week, he announced that he would leave Robert Yates and go with Richard Childress and Dale Earnhardt for 1997. And we talked to Larry this week about his move.
For the past 13 seasons, Richard Childress has had the best driver ever to get behind the wheel of a Winston Cup race car. Dale Earnhardt has won 7 championships, tying Richard Petty for that honor in the record books. But Earnhardt desperately wants number 8. In a season of ups and downs for the 3 team, Richard Childress has ended 96 with an emphatic up by convincing veteran crew chief Larry McReynolds to leave Robert Yates Racing Stables and join RCR as Earnhardt's pit boss. Becoming crew chief for the 7-time champ may sound like a dream job, but it took some serious coaxing to sway McReynolds.
Richard first approached me back about Rockingham, and at that point I said, no, I'm going to stay where I'm at. I've got a good home with Robert Yates, and we're going to keep going forward there and hopefully have one of those guys, or hopefully both of them, as Jeff and Terry was this past year, bidding for the championship. Richard worked on me just a little bit harder at Phoenix, and then Dale got involved, Dale Earnhardt. And I guess that might have been one contributing factor, is how fired up and pumped up and how hard Dale Earnhardt seemed like he wanted me to really come over here. Now, I'm not saying that Dale Jarrett or Ernie Irvin didn't want me to stay there, but I just seen a gleam in Earnhardt's eyes about so bad wanting to get me to come over here to help him win some more races and to help him win this 8th championship. And if there was one big contributing factor to it from coming from this side, it probably was Dale Earnhardt.
The year McReynolds had with the 2-car Yates team was far and above better than what they expected back in February when they went to Daytona. 6 wins and 3 poles between the 2 cars, and both Irvin and Jarrett finishing in the top 10 in points. Sounds pretty good to the average race fan, but for Larry McReynolds, the addition of a 2nd car meant being the number 28 crew chief, as well as trying to carry the title of team manager for both cars.
Maybe it's a deal where I got myself in too deep there. Trying to be team manager for both of those teams, trying to make sure every guy had a bed to lay in. I had a lot of help with people helping me with all these elements, but just trying to make sure everybody was where they needed to be. And as we grew, certainly those responsibilities grew. and then trying to also be the crew chief for Ernie Irvin in the 28 car. So, and sometimes you get so deep, you can't crawl back out and back off. It's just hard to do. I've come here, certainly this is a 2-car operation with going to run Mike Skinner this year, all of the races, but I think we're going to structure it a little bit different here. It's going to be one, but it's going to be separate. We're going to share, we're going to work with each other, but still it's going to be separate operations. And all I want to do is come in here and help in any way I can, but focus on the 3-car. Try to do everything I can to get it to victory lane and let the other people here at RCR take care of all the other responsibilities.
In his 11 years as a crew chief, McReynolds has visited victory lane 22 times, but has never taken home the top prize. In '94, Irvin was in the points battle, ironically with the number 3 car, when he had his near-fatal wreck at Michigan. And in '92, Davey Allison went to Atlanta the points leader, but failed to win it. So the thought obviously crossed his mind of being able to win his first title as a crew chief, but maybe more importantly, lead Earnhardt's charge towards number 8.
I think it's played a small part in it. Again, I think we had the capabilities of winning a championship at Roberts with the people that was there. Certainly we come very close this year with Dale Jarrett, finishing 3rd, less than 100 points behind Terry. I look back at '94. We was right there in the championship hunt with Ernie before he got hurt, ironically battling the 3-car, and then go back to '92 where we went to Atlanta leading the points and got swept up in an accident there about halfway through the event. So certainly the capabilities was there, but this team knows it's won championships. It knows what you have to do, and hopefully it can teach Larry McReynolds that, and we can win Dale Earnhardt his 8th championship.
While it was widely known that things just weren't right in the 3 camp all year following the departure of Andy Petree, who led Earnhardt to 2 of his 7 titles, McReynolds brings a sense of stability to Earnhardt and the team that may have left with Petree.
Well, I think it's going to be a neat relationship. Him and I have already established a really good open lines of communication. He calls me. We have talked, it seems like 50 times on the telephone in the last couple of weeks. And he just seems so pumped up and exciting. And that's exciting to me, that know that a person and a driver like Dale Earnhardt is so excited. And even Richard Childress told me last week, he said, I've not seen Dale Earnhardt this pumped up in several years. So that's a confidence builder for me, and we hadn't even left the shop yet. But, you know, I come here, and I told Richard Childress, I can't promise you wins. I can't promise you a championship. I can't promise you no kind of performance on the racetrack. I'd be foolish to promise that up front. The only thing I can promise you is I'll come here and I'll work as hard as I can work, and I'll stay focused, and I'll try to give these guys the guidance and the leadership. And hopefully if you take those elements and you combine them with certainly the elements that's here at Richard Childress Racing, with that, the wins, and hopefully the 8th championship will come.
Well, certainly I don't think it was any surprise that Dale Earnhardt and Richard Childress would want Larry McReynolds. The surprise was that he would leave Robert Yates Racing. It will be interesting to see how it works out. Still to come, the mailbox and lots more. And as we leave you for this break, here's an exclusive offer for Inside NASCAR fans. The Inside NASCAR mailbox is brought to you by Miller. Our question this week is from Larry Benema from Loveland, Colorado. Why do most of the pit signs have holes drilled in them? And why the random and unusual locations of the holes?
Larry, that's a good question. Hi, I'm Clarence Brewer, team owner of the Timberwolf number 37 Monte Carlo. We drill holes in the sign for wind, when the wind blows race day, and also we space the hose because of the logo, to keep it out of the way of the logo and to make it easier for the driver to see the sign when he pulls into pit road.
If you have any race questions, write to us at Inside NASCAR, Post Office Box 240417, Charlotte, North Carolina 28224. If we use your question on the air, you'll receive this embroidered Miller jacket, and you'll also receive the Winston Cup Scene CD-ROM with all the drivers, tracks, stats, and video finishes from all the races. For CD-ROM orders only, call 1-800-380-7404.
Still to come, Clara B. Lang and the Illustrated Insider and the Inside NASCAR Profile. We'll be right back. From time to time, we like to bring you a different perspective of what goes on behind the scenes in NASCAR Winston Cup racing. So here's our latest installment of Illustrated Insider with Claire B. Lane.
The comment heard most from racing insiders regarding the Suzuka race in Japan, the difference in the crowd that they raced in front of. Polite clapping was the extent of the crowd reaction from the enthusiastic Japanese fans, even when the drivers burned out of a pit stop during qualifying or when Jeff Gordon passed for the lead at one point. A drastic difference from the definitely more rowdy American race fans. Give them time. One unique insider view of the Japan trip was when Truck Series champ Ron Hornaday grabbed an inside NASCAR camera and tried his hand at some impromptu camera work. These are Hornaday's exclusive shots of the NASCAR trip to Japan. Thanks, Ron. Darrell Waltrip didn't try his hand at cooking, but he did surprise the Winston Cup Racing Wives Auxiliary by stopping by to sample the food recently when the wives, along with the celebrity chef from the Regis and Kathy Lee show, got together at Charlotte Motor Speedway to shoot a national cooking video featuring the drivers' favorite recipes. Look for that video to be out soon in national distribution. It will benefit the Winston Cup Racing Wives Auxiliary Fund. Miller Beer is unveiling a new pit stop promotion in bars across America, and they needed MTV-ish footage of Miller pit action for a piece they're producing to distribute to the bars. So Miller asked the insider to shoot in the Miller pits, and you're seeing raw insider footage of what actually does go on in a pit during a race. Driver Ken Schrader wins the all-round Best Christmas Gift Award. According to wife Ann, one Christmas, when they'd been married about 5 years and she was 9 months pregnant, Schrader did the ultimate thing to get her a proper engagement ring.
I was 9 months pregnant, married 5 years, and we did not go home for Christmas because my baby was due Christmas Day, and my husband had an engagement ring in an ornament on my Christmas tree. That was like pretty ooey.
Oh.
And he sold a race car to buy the ring.
Kenny, you're the man. Racing's finest gathered this week at the Stock Car Cafe located in Cornelius, North Carolina, near many of the NASCAR race shops. It was the official end of the race season celebration where Winston Cup and Busch drivers, team owners, and over 1,200 crew members were invited to unwind and celebrate the end of the race season, and they did just that. The insider camera was there to catch the behind-the-scenes festivities.
Merry Christmas, TNN. Great place. TNN Stock Car Cafe. Tea's pretty good.
Hi, TNN.
Some of my favorite stories are the crew guys' shenanigans on the road. The guys at Bud Moore Engineering tell me their gas man, Phil Thomas, is so afraid of snakes that they spent quite a bit of time on the road this season dreaming up ways to scare him with snake pranks. While the crew was playing cards in the hotel room at Pocono, the guys threw a plastic snake on the bed. Thomas bravely drew his knife and stabbed the snake, destroying the bedspread, sheet, and mattress in the process. The insider thinks Thomas's selfless efforts to protect not only himself, but his entire crew from the venom of the plastic snake were admirable and heroic. Hey, Phil, don't let them tell you there's a snake in the gas. Stay tuned for the Illustrated Insider. I'm Claire B. Lang.
If you have ideas for the Illustrated Insider, you can email Claire B. Lang at insidercbl@aol.com. Or if you'd like to read more, you can find Claire's monthly column in Winston Cup Illustrated. Call 1-800-883-7323 to begin your subscription.
Well, thanks, Claire. We'll catch back up with you in a couple of weeks. Still to come, the Inside NASCAR Profile, which features a member of Rusty Wallace's team. As we leave you for this break, here's a look at what's coming up next week right here on Inside NASCAR on TNN.
Coming up next week on Inside NASCAR, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series will open their 1997 schedule at the Walt Disney World Speedway on January 19th. And the team's got their first chance to take a ride at the Mick Yard this week. We'll see how they fared at one of racing's newest playgrounds. We all know that Terry Labonte wrapped up the 1996 Winston Cup Championship thanks to consistency week in and week out. But what about the men behind the man? We'll see how the five guys have helped Terry to his second championship. All this and more next week on Inside NASCAR.
Billy Wilburn is a very valuable member of the Rusty Wallace Miller team in NASCAR Winston Cup Racing, and he is absolutely one of the best tire changers in the business. But he has another talent too, and aspirations, and that is to drive race cars. And that is the subject of this week's Inside NASCAR Profile.
Today's Inside NASCAR Profile is brought to you by Prestone Antifreeze. Protect your car in the Prestone Zone.
While everyone's aware of the talented pool of drivers that make up NASCAR racing these days, most people probably don't know that there are many talented drivers behind the scenes each week, milling through the garage area, working on the cars instead of in them. Billy Wilburn is the front tire changer on the number 2 Miller Lite Ford. The 2 crew is known for their lightning-fast pit stops week after week, but Wilburn is also known for his slick moves behind the wheel of a dirt track and sprint car. At age 30, Billy's love for the sport came at an early age, with a wrench in his hand and not the steering wheel.
My crew experience started first while I was in high school. Had some friends that were involved in racing and ended up sort of as a crewman for them. And Kurt Bryant, his father's crew chief, Darrell Bryant, and during the summers between school and then while the school, during school year, I would work there in the afternoons. And after 2 or 3 years of that, I went to work for Richard Petty, and I never really thought much about driving at the time, but I took a job with Darrell Waltrip in '88 and moved to Charlotte, and some things opened up and got a chance to drive a few times in some different situations.
Now, don't confuse Wilburn with the likes of Steve Kinzer or Dave Blaney, but he has won a handful of features over the years and still wonders if it's the way to make a living.
If I can't do it at the level that I can make a living at it and be comfortable, then yeah, I will. I think the credentials that I have in Winston Cup would allow me to take a position and concentrate 100% on that in the future, and pursue an avenue there, whether it be a crew chief, a crewman, or whatever. If that's what we choose to do in the future, then that's what we'll do.
While Billy's duties on the Penske team are limited so he can pursue his dream of racing, doors have opened thanks to his ties with the Winston Cup family.
Winston Cup is the premier racing circuit in the world as far as I'm concerned, and the contacts that you make and the friends that you make play a big role in some of the breaks and some of the doors that are open to you that wouldn't be open if you're not involved in Winston Cup. I mean, there's a lot of the sponsors that sponsor Rusty's car have helped me in a small way, and that probably wouldn't be the case if I wasn't involved here at the capacity that I am.
Don't expect to see Billy behind the wheel of a Miller-sponsored sprint car, but you can sure bet he'll be sliding his way to the front on a dirt track somewhere across the country next season.
Well, folks, that's all the time we have for this show. We hope you enjoyed it. You be sure to tune in to TNN every week for Inside NASCAR, because we're going to be here. There's lots going on in the sport during the winter, and we'll keep you right up to date on it. So long for today.
Today's show has been brought to you by Texaco Haviland Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car. Take it to the star. And by Miller Lite. With the great taste of an ice-cold Miller Lite, life is good. And by Pep Boys. 26,000 items at the guaranteed low price. Tires and service, too. Everything but gas. Before you make your holiday wish list, you better get the special edition Simpson catalog, stuffed with new products, special offers, and values for both racers and fans. Call 1-800-71-RACING to get your copy. The official conversion van of Inside NASCAR is Gladiator by Glovell, America's #1 luxury van. Glovell, the way we put it together sets us apart.